Tattoos are actually steeped in a history of healing. 5,000-year-old 𝐬𝐨 the Iceman was discovered with markings tattooed on his limbs in areas that would have been causing him chronic pain. In cultures and tribes throughout history, and even in modern times, symbols are tattooed onto parts of the body to alleviate symptoms of chronic illness. And it works. Now, whether you believe in juju, mind over matter healing, a placebo effect, or whether you consider this may actually be a science not yet proven, there's something pretty special about using tattooing for healing. In our culture, we focus more on aesthetics, don't we? But tattoos can still be very healing. If someone has a part of their body that they don't like to show off, you put a tattoo that they really love on there, they are first on the nudist beach in the summer every time.
Now, you may think of protein as simply something that you need to eat, an important part of your diet, something that's important for you to build muscle. But it's not just muscle that contains protein. Protein makes up an a huge fraction of the incredibly complicated ecosystem that's your entire body. In many ways, your body functions like a large city, full of myriad buildings, interconnected buildings with lots of different structures. Now, just as the word building fails to capture the incredible variety of structures that make up any large city, the generic term protein gives no clue as to the incredible variety of molecular architectures at the molecular level.
This is me at 5 years old, shortly before jumping into this beautifully still pool of water. I soon find out the hard way that this pool is completely empty because the ice-cold water is near freezing and literally takes my breath away. Even though I already know how to swim, I can't get up to the water's surface no matter how hard I try. That's the last thing I remember trying to do before blacking out. Turns out the lifeguard on duty had been chatting with two girls when I jumped in, and I was soon underwater, so he couldn't actually see or hear me struggle.
I've been working in AI for most of my career, helping companies build artificial intelligence capabilities to improve their business, which is why I think what I'm about to tell you is quite shocking. Every year, thousands of companies across the world spend collectively tens of billions of dollars to build AI capabilities. But according to research my colleagues and I have done, only about 10% of these companies get any meaningful financial impact from their investments. These 10% winners with AI have a secret. And their secret is not about fancy algorithms or sophisticated technology. It's something far more basic. It's how they get their people and AI to work together. Together, not against each other, not instead of each other. Together in a mutually beneficial relationship.
Tropical forests are one of the world's most important carbon sinks, absorbing over 1/5 of the emissions from burning fossil fuels every year. We can't solve climate change without tropical forests. But right now, instead of protecting forests, we're cutting them down. Already, about 1/6 of the Amazon has been lost, and some scientists fear that we're nearing a tipping point that could mean loss of the entire forest. Forests in Indonesia and Malaysia, even the vast forests of Central Africa, are under threat as well. And deforestation means carbon pollution. In fact, tropical deforestation worldwide accounts for almost as much emissions as all the world's cars and trucks combined. So losing tropical forests means losing any hope of limiting the rise in global temperatures to 1.5 or even 2 degrees Celsius.
COVID-19 can be the last pandemic if we take the right steps. So how? What are these steps? Well, let's go back and look at what the Romans did. Think about how over time we've gotten good at preventing big fires. Fire prevention is kind of this pervasive thing. It's well-funded, it's well understood. If an alarm went off right now, everyone here would know we're supposed to calmly gather, go out and wait instructions. We know that help would be on the way because we have lots of trained firefighters who practice. The United States alone has 370,000 full-time firefighters, even more than I guessed that number would be. We also have access to water. The United States, for example, has almost 9 million fire hydrants. And so that type of investment, that type of practice, that type of system is what we need to stop pandemics.
We don't have any databases on this sort of information. As well as that, these records of sound levels take no account of the fact that people vary in their perceptions of noise. So someone like me with years of working in acoustics might be very different from you in that regard. But anyway, even though these noise maps are fairly crude, they've been useful in providing information and raising awareness that noise matters. We need to deal with it, and so it's a political matter. And that's important. We need rules and regulations because noise can cause all sorts of problems. Those of you who are city dwellers know that things go on 24 hours a day.
As far as I know, psychophysics is about measuring things. And Howard is very interested in measuring things. And he graduated with his doctorate from Harvard, and he set up a little consulting shop in White Plains, New York. And one of his first clients was, this is many years ago, back in the early 70s, one of his first clients was Pepsi. And Pepsi came to Howard and they said, you know, there's this new thing called aspartame, and we would like to make Diet Pepsi. And we'd like you to figure out how much aspartame we should put in each can of Diet Pepsi in order to have the perfect drink. Right? Now that sounds like an incredibly straightforward question to answer. And that's what Howard thought. Because Pepsi told him, look, we're working with a band between 8 and 12%. Anything below 8% sweetness is not sweet enough. Anything above 12% sweetness is too sweet.
It seems that cancer is a direct result to injury. If you smoke, you damage your lung tissue, and then lung cancer arises. If you drink, you damage your liver, and then liver cancer occurs. And it was really interesting. There were articles correlating if you have a bone fracture, and then bone cancer arises. It seemed that because what stem cells are they're these phenomenal cells that really have the ability to differentiate into any type of tissue. So if the body's sensing that you have damage to an organ, and then it's initiating cancer, it's almost as if this is a repair response. And the cancer, the body's saying the lung tissue is damaged, we need to repair the lung. And cancer is originating in the lung, trying to repair, because you have this excessive proliferation of these remarkable cells that really have the potential to become lung tissue. But it's almost as if the body has originated this ingenious response but can't quite control it. It hasn't yet become fine-tuned enough to finish what has been initiated.
To do it right, we have to build business models that matter, that are scalable, and that work with Africans, Indians, people all over the developing world who fit in this category to do it themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's about engagement, it's about understanding that people really don't want handouts, but they want to make their own decisions, they want to solve their own problems, and that by engaging with them, not only do we create much more dignity for them, but for us as well. And so I urge all of you to think next time as to how to engage with this notion and this opportunity that we all have to make poverty history by really becoming part of the process and moving away from an us and them world and realizing that it's about all of us and the kind of world that we together want to live in and share.
But the problem is that the amount of mercury in the environment's increasing. The main reason for this is the power plants used to produce electricity. The main source of energy that most of them use is still coal, and when it's burned, it releases mercury into the atmosphere. Some of this gets deposited into lakes and rivers, and if it's ingested by a fish, it's not excreted. It stays in the fish's body, and it enters the food chain. So, it's been known for some time that birds which eat fish may be affected. But what wasn't known until quite recently is that those that eat insects can also be affected.
My job is all about listening, and my aim really is to teach the world to listen. That's my only real aim in life. And it sounds quite simple, but actually it's quite a big job, because, you know, when you look at a piece of music, for example, if I just open my little motorbike bag, we have here, hopefully, a piece of music that is full of little black dots on the page.
There are many people who think that the animal world is hardwired and that there's something very, very special about man. Maybe it's his ability to have causal thought. Maybe it's something special in his brain that allows him to have language. Maybe it's something special in his brain that allows him to make tools or to have mathematics. Well, I don't know. There were Tasmanians who were discovered around the 1600s, and they had no fire. They had no stone tools. To our knowledge, they had no music.
Medicinal tablets are nothing new. Doctors have been dispensing pills for thousands of years, and now archaeologists have turned up some of those ancient medicines, which were preserved in a shipwreck for close to 2 millennia. The 2nd century Pozzino wreck was discovered in 1974 off the coast of Italy. Its cargo included medical equipment, like a cupping vessel, iron probe, and tin boxes of supplies. And in one of those boxes, researchers recovered 5 gray tablets. Now, they've analyzed the antique medication. The work is in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The pills primarily contain zinc compounds, probably the active medicinal ingredients, but researchers also detected starch, pollen, charcoal, fats, and linen fibers. Those fibers help the tablets hold their round, loaf-like shape, which may be the key to the medication's use. The Greek word meaning small round loaves also inspired the word collyrium, or eye wash. The pills were probably either dissolved in liquid or ground into a powder and used to treat eye conditions. Who knows? Maybe Hippocrates used them on his pupils.
Dogs aren't just man's best friend. Previous studies have shown that kids with dogs are less likely to develop asthma. Now a new study may show how, if results from mice apply to us. The work was presented at a meeting of the American Society for Microbiology. The study tests what's called the hygiene hypothesis. The idea is that extreme cleanliness may actually promote disease later on. Researchers collected dust from homes that had a dog. They fed that house dust to mice. They then infected the mice with a common childhood infection called respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. Mice who ate the dog dust were protected against RSV infection symptoms, like inflamed, mucus-coated airways, suggesting exposure helped them stave off the virus. Those mice also had more diverse communities of gut bacteria than control mice did. Researchers say our pets' microbes may colonize our gut too, and help the immune system learn to respond to infections. That's important because when kids develop severe RSV, their risk of asthma goes up. So next time Buster sheds all over the couch, think of it as a bonus dose of probiotics.
An Egyptian narrative of about 1080 BC, the story of Wen Amen, provides an insight into the scale of their trading activity. One of the characters is Wereket El, a Phoenician merchant living at Tanis in Egypt's Nile Delta. As many as 50 ships carry out his business, plying back and forth between the Nile and the Phoenician port of Sidon. The most prosperous period for Phoenicia was the 10th century BC, when the surrounding region was stable.
Crows, she says, are what's known as partial migrants. Every year, some members of the population migrate between breeding grounds and their overwintering grounds, like parking lots. But others just stay put. So Townsend and her colleagues wanted to know if that urge to migrate was something individual crows can turn on and off. To find out, they captured 18 crows from overwintering spots in California and New York. They fitted the birds with little backpack satellite tags and tracked them for several years. Overall, 3/4 of the birds migrated, an average of 300 miles. And more importantly, if they migrated once, they did it every year, suggesting traveling is not a habit they switch on and off. The researchers also found that migrating crows returned faithfully to the same breeding grounds every year, but they were more flexible on where to overwinter, which could be a good thing.